Hello and welcome back to my brand new video. Are you interested in China? Good, because in this series we will discuss many questions such as: is China socialist? Is China an imperialist country? Does China have a dictatorship of the proletariat? Is China really one of the most totalitarian regimes in the world? Does China kill Muslims? And many other questions. And to not be biased at all, we will use Xi Jinping's books, The Governance of China, Volume 1 and 2, to analyze China today. So, if you're a leftist or just a curious person interested in China or politics in general, then just watch and enjoy my video, Analyzing China with Xi Jinping's Literature, Episode 2. Is China imperialist? Whether China is imperialist or not is one of the most heated topics in leftist politics and politics in general. Even many anti-modern China Marxist-Leninists today call China an anti-imperialist country, but is it really anti-imperialist? Or is it just an imperialist capitalist state? So, as I said, to answer that question in the most unbiased way possible, let's just use Xi Jinping's books, The Governance of China, Volume 1 and 2, to answer that question. Let's get started. Okay, so first of all, what even is imperialism? Definitions on this topic vary greatly. It's just colonialism, right? No. It's just war, right? No, not that either. Then what the hell is imperialism? What are you even talking about, Comrade King? Well, all leftists, excluding ultra-leftists, use Lenin's definition of imperialism. Okay, then what is Lenin's definition of imperialism? Well, I'd need to make a whole different video on that. But in a nutshell, imperialism, according to Lenin, is when companies get so powerful that so much capital and wealth is concentrated into such a small amount of hands that companies start expanding outside their native country, start spreading capital to other countries, usually weaker countries, so overtake these countries' economies, get these countries' markets under the control of the companies, and then exploit the natural resources of other countries, like water and oil, or they utilize their cheap labor by building sweatshops and stuff like that. However, when a country resists imperialism, the imperialist country will use force, usually military action, to achieve its goals and imperialize the country. How does it imperialize it? By exploiting its natural resources or by utilizing its cheap labor, of course. Despite us mainly discussing whether or not China falls into Lenin's definition of imperialism, I will still talk about the topic of war and Xi Jinping's stance on war in this video, and this is exactly what I will start with now. Okay, let's take a look at what Xi has to say on peace and war. Xi Jinping says the following on peace and war. In the interest of peace, China will remain committed to peaceful development. We Chinese always love peace. No matter how much stronger it might become, China will never seek hegemony or expansionism. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 2, page 485 to 486. Though, that's not the only thing that Xi has to say on the subject. In fact, he also says the following. Driving deeper reform in national defense and the military is the call of the times to realize the Chinese dream, as well as strong military dream. A sure path to a strong military and a crucial step for the future of our armed forces. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 2, page 441. So, Xi's peace-loving and anti-war rhetoric is all just a scheme? Why does Xi want to build a strong and big military and army? Is he really not anti-war? Well, let's see what he has to say else on this topic. The Chinese people cherish peace. We will not engage in aggression or expansion, but we are confident that we will defeat any aggressor. We will never allow any person, any organization, or any political party to split any part of the Chinese territory away from the country at any time, in any form. No one should expect us to accept anything that damages our sovereignty, security, or development interests. The military must resolutely safeguard the party's leadership and our socialist sovereignty, security and interests, and regional and world peace. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 2, page 454. As you can see, Xi Jinping is anti-war. However, he will always protect his country and its sovereignty and will always fight back against any aggressor, be it separatists like the ones in Xinjiang, or nationals like the ones in Xinjiang, or terrorists like the ones in Xinjiang. This is exactly why he wants a strong and big military and army, and this all makes perfect sense if you think about it. China currently is involved in only 3 wars. It's involved in Xinjiang, a region full of terrorists, nationals and separatists, which wants to break away from China, and Xi really hates separatists who want to break away from China and damage its sovereignty, as we already know. So, Xi just fights back. But wait, you guys will probably ask me now, isn't Xi involved in 2 more wars? Comrade King, you said that it's involved in 3 wars. In Xinjiang, and in 2 more wars, yeah? As you probably already guessed. So what are these 2 wars? Well, before I answer that question, I want to tell you that, as you can already see, China is a very peaceful country, very anti-war, but is always ready to kick ass if someone harms it or its sovereignty. Anyway, Comrade King, what are the other 2 wars in which China and Xi are involved in other than in the conflict in Xinjiang? Well, as far as I know, China is involved in the internal conflict in Myanmar. There is an easy explanation for why Xi is involved in the conflict in Myanmar and helps the Myanmar government. Xi is scared that the unrest there could split well into mainland China, and because Xi wants to protect his country and its sovereignty, he will help Myanmar, so that won't happen. And he is helping it already right now. As for the other war in which he is involved in, that is the Northern Mali conflict. Why would Xi do something so evil and support them? Well, let me show you why. Countering terrorism has a direct bearing on national security, the people's immediate interests, and reform, development, and stability. The battle against terrorism safeguards national unity, social stability, and the people's well-being. We must take decisive measures in deterring terrorism and keep up the pressure to thwart terrorism. We shall work out a sound anti-terrorist work pattern, improve our anti-terrorism work system, and build up our anti-terrorism strength. We should enlist both professional forces and the public in the fight against terrorism, get the general public to carry out different forms of activities against terrorism, build an impregnable anti-terrorism network, and ensure that terrorists are hunted down like rats. We should also let patriotic religious personages play a role, enhance positive guidance for religious believers, meet the latest normal religious needs, and effectively resist the infiltration of religious extremism. Terrorism denies basic human rights, tramples on humanitarian justice, and challenges the shared norms of human civilization. It is not an issue of ethnicity nor an issue of religion. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 1, page 234, PDF version. Regarding the fight against terrorism, the UN should play a bigger role by promoting clear-out criteria of right and wrong, so as to advance the fight against terrorism of all forms. It should also serve as the main channel in protecting cybersecurity, advocate rules, solvency and transparency in this regard, respect the concerns of different countries over information safety, and achieve common management. China will continue to firmly support the UN. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 1, page 276, PDF version. So, if you haven't noticed yet, the northern Mali conflict is a conflict between mainly African states and terrorists. And, as we have just seen, Xi Jinping really hates terrorism and wants to help other countries to kick terrorist ass, which is exactly what he's doing in Africa. He wants to fight against terrorism not just on a national level, but on an international level. And even if you didn't fight terrorism internationally, and just on a national level, the terrorists will just come to China themselves and terrorize it as they pose a threat to Chinese sovereignty, as Xi says. So yeah, Xi is really anti-war, but also very anti-terrorism. Anyway, we have enough talked about Xi's stances on war. Let's see what his stance is on imperialism the way Lenin defined it. But before we move on to that, there will be a little trivia question. Trivia time! Let's see what the trivia question is of today. Which of the following Chinese leaders helped counter-revolutionaries? A. Mao Zedong, B. Hu Jintao, C. Xi Jinping. Now, before I will give you the answer to the trivia question, okay? Let me tell you one thing. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Put the bell on, I mean. And please, share my channel, share my videos, like them. Please do that. Comment if you have questions. Please just support my channel. It's having a really dark period for a long time right now. Okay? Like the subscriber amount is stagnating for centuries. So please help me, okay? Thank you. Okay, the answer to the trivia question is Mao Zedong. Yes, that's true. In Angola's civil war, Mao Zedong actually helped the counter-revolutionaries. Yeah, pretty interesting fact that you should should know. Anyway, we have talked enough about Xi's stances on war. Now, let's talk about his stances on imperialism, the way Lenin defined it. Okay, let's see what he says on imperialism, the way Lenin defines it. Okay, confronting overcapacity, we must upgrade our industrial structure, merge and reorganize enterprises, and promote the concentration of production. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 2, page 253. Okay, so you may ask now, what has this to do with imperialism, the way Lenin defined it, Comrade King? Well, if you read Lenin, you'd know that the concentration of production and the merging of enterprises have something to do with imperialism. Let's see what Lenin has to say about the concentration of production and the merging of enterprises in his famous book, Imperialism is the Highest Stage of Capitalism. The facts show that differences between capitalist countries, for example in the matter of protection or free trade, only gives rise to insignificant variations in the form of monopolies or in the moment of their appearance, and that the rise of monopolies as the result of the concentration of production is a general and fundamental law of the present stage of development of capitalism. Vladimir Lenin, Imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, page 37, Resistance Marxist Library. Not in every branch of industry are there large-scale enterprises, and moreover a very important feature of capitalism in its highest stage of development is the so-called combination of production, that is to say the grouping in a single enterprise of different branches of industry which either represent the consecutive stages in the processing of raw materials, for example, the smelting of iron ore into pig iron, the conversion of pig iron into steel, and then perhaps the manufacture of steel goods, or are auxiliary to one another. For example, the utilization of scrap or of byproducts, the manufacture of packing materials, etc. Vladimir Lenin, Imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, page 35, the Resistance Marxist Library. Okay, so you may ask me now, okay, Comrade King, so what have Lenin's quotes to do with imperialism that you just showed? Well, when he said the highest stage of capitalism, he referred to imperialism, so he meant that uniting enterprises, what she wants, as we just saw, is imperialist. And he said that the concentration of production leads to monopolies. Okay, but what have monopolies to do with imperialism? Let's see what Lenin says about monopolies and its correlation to imperialism. If it were necessary to give the briefest possible definition of imperialism, we have to say that imperialism is the monopoly stage of capitalism. Vladimir Lenin, Imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, page 91, Resistance Marxist Library. Okay, but some absolute idiots that have already sadly met like the guy in the picture will now probably say that she wants the concentration of production and the merging of enterprises on a national scale and not on an international scale, thus making China not imperialist. Let's see what she has to say on this. We will adjust current industrial and local research institutes, ensure that enterprises augment their R&D strength, support the establishment of enterprise-based national centers for technological innovation, and encourage enterprises to become globally influential and lead their industries. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 2, page 300. Anyway, this quote by Xi Jinping proves that he wants imperialism on an international scale. Now, some might say that she will regulate the concentration of production and companies, and will not let companies to become imperialist, like this idiot in the picture said, that I'm showing right now. Let me show you now what she said in my last episode of my China series that you must watch. The state protects the property rights and legitimate interests of all economic sectors. In addition, China will promote equality of rights, opportunities and rules, abolish all the unreasonable regulations for the private sector, remove all hidden barriers, and stimulate its dynamism and creativity. Xi Jinping, The Governance of China, Volume 2, page 282. So yeah, Xi Jinping doesn't want to regulate companies so they don't do imperialism. So, in conclusion, the news are correct on China exploiting Africa's natural resources and Chinese imperialism. Xi Jinping is imperialist. However, he is a very smart imperialist. He makes his imperialism more attractive by having an anti-war foreign policy and by somewhat treating weak countries better than the USA or France. If you enjoyed this video, like it, share it and subscribe. I hope to you and I hope you learned something new. Now take care, bye bye.